another chapter. And this chapter is going to be about a particular lesson.
Yes, it is. Today we're going to be talking about following your intuition.
Following your intuition.
Yes.
Wow. A lot of people don't even realize they have any.
I know, crazy. So what I find fascinating is that most people will pay more tuition to teachers outside of themselves than they will to their own intuition, their own inner teacher. I believe that every one of us has an inner guidance system. We're born with it, and it's there to guide us.
Most of us, when we know something is wrong, if it's going to offend our friends, we'll do it anyway. That's how much attention we pay to our intuition.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And yet, I think every one of us, like I said, is born with this inner teacher, this inner guidance system that's inside every one of us. Literally, it's like a moral compass, if you will. And how many of us don't follow that compass, that teacher that's inside of us? I think we're all born with the ability, this innate ability to know what's right and wrong for us. And what's right and wrong, not necessarily right, wrong. What's right for me might not be wrong for you. But this kind of moral compass that guides us in the direction of our lives and keeps us on the path of what is best for us.
But we frequently, as human beings, forfeit what's best for us to get along with everybody else.
Right. Or to do what we think other people think is best for us, based on other people's perceptions of who they think we need to be, or who we think we need to be based on their perceptions of who we need to be. It's really this silly little game that we play.
And we do that regardless of the fact that we hate it.
It makes us very uncomfortable. I mean, it's really easy to tell when we're out of alignment with our inner compass because it's very uncomfortable.
Isn't that amazing? What kind of self-degradation we'll go through to be liked. And anybody that really liked us wouldn't do that to us.
Right. So if we had people in our life who genuinely loved us, our parents, our friends, that's kind of one of the telltale signs, is that if we have people in our lives who genuinely love us no matter what, that unconditional love that we all seek, there wouldn't be this judgment on who they expect us to be based on their perceptions of who we are. Inside, we innately know who we are, and inside, we innately know what's best for us. And if we're allowed to be that, then we don't have that discomfort of trying to fit in or trying to be who we're expected to be.
And if we really liked ourselves well enough and respect ourselves well enough, we might listen to ourselves once in a while. So there's a problem there too.
Yeah, and so a lot of this stems from literally from when we're children. Being able to teach children how to trust themselves, and being able to teach children how to listen to themselves, and being able to teach children how to be comfortable with who they are. This is a brand new concept for a lot of people called conscious parenting.
It's amazing. We don't have very much conscious anything. We just have rules. And that's sad. Now that isn't true, of course, everywhere. But most of us live by a set of rules that our ancestors lived by, or the group we were born into lived by, and followed whatever tribe we were born into.
Right. And what was right, wrong for that particular tribe. There's always this right, wrong, dual reality that whoever happens to be in charge creates for us. Even if inside it doesn't feel right for us, we still follow it because we're told that's what we have to do.
And we want acceptance.
And we want acceptance. Because ultimately human beings are social animals, and we'd like being accepted in the little social environment that we're in.
So we would rather reject ourselves for someone else's acceptance.
Correct.
It's a little illogical, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those irrational beliefs that I talk about. And when we get to the point in our life where we realize, oh, that's a pretty irrational way to go through life, I would much rather be happy inside of myself than allow myself to be judged by other people's standards of who they think I need to be. It's really very liberating when you get to the point where you can start to live your life based on who you know you really are.
And what you really want to be.
And what you really want to be. Sometimes that requires backtracking 40, 50 years to who you wanted to be when you were 5 years old. And you finally go, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I said someday I wanted to be blank. But then I went and did the should because everybody told me that I should be a doctor or I should be a lawyer. And then you see more people after their midlife rebirth who say, screw that, I'm going to go be a painter. That's what I always wanted to be. Really getting in touch with who we really are.
I think a lot of people never have any concept at all of what they want to be. They fall into a role they are told they must play.
Well, a lot of times little kids, right around 8, 9 years old, have a pretty good idea of something that's calling to them from inside. But if they're told that that's irrational, that that's not logical, that it's ridiculous, if they're told that their dream is ridiculous, it kills it. And then they start going down the path of whatever everybody else says is right for them, even if it feels very, very wrong inside.
That's very sad.
It's very sad. And however, it's the way a lot of us move through life.
That's a more common thing for women to be trapped in than men, I think, although we're all trapped in it.
Yeah, I think we all are. I know a lot of men who ended up in careers that they never liked, they never wanted to be in, and they're finally deciding, in the second half of their life, they sell the business and then become who they really wanted to be.
And that's liberating, and the better half of their life is better, literally.
Literally, yeah. And very liberating. And, for the first time you get to do what you love, make money doing what you love, rather than making money doing what you were told you needed to do.
It makes a difference in whether or not they're happy for the rest of their life or just drudgery.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't matter how much money you make if you spend your life working at a job you hate, because the job you hate or the hours you work take up a third of your life.
A third?
Well, you sleep 1/3.
There are some people who work 60, 70 hours a week. It's
at a job they hate.
At a job they hate, precisely, because that's what they were expected to do.
That's just horrible.
Yeah.
That's a long workload.
It is. And, and how many people go to school for 12 years on top of college, and then they have all those student loans to pay back for a job they don't love.
That's bondage.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
It's very sad.
If it was a job they loved, it'd be different. But for a job you don't love, if it was a job you love, it's an opportunity to make it, to head for your dream, to go get it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are some people who had that. There are. There's one part of me that was always really jealous of people who had supportive, loving parents. And I talk to people who say, oh, my parents were great. They told me I could do whatever I wanted with my life. And I just, I really try not to be envious, because envy doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't. It's a very hurtful emotion. It's a very fear-based emotion. And there's still this little twinge in me that says, lucky. Because most of us, quite frankly, didn't get that kind of upbringing. And so, people who were raised with, my husband's one of these. So there is a little twinge of jealousy even of my own husband, because he was raised with a mom who said you can be anything. So he starts a business and he just does it. He's successful because he knows he can be. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to admit that there is a little twinge of jealousy even with my own husband, even though I'm enjoying the benefits of this, because he's such an amazing guy. There's a little twinge of, and his parents are awesome. It's just funny. And
then there are those that were raised like we were.
And then there were ones that were raised like we were. We were told that we were absolute losers. And the one that I remember hearing all the time as a kid is, you're just a stupid girl.
And I honestly didn't realize that women anywhere on earth had any choice to be anything except mothers.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only choice that we had.
Yeah, it's the only thing I saw.
Yeah.
I had, when people ask me, what is it that you wanted to be when you grew up? And I said, I had no idea. I just knew what I didn't want to be. I looked around at the women around me and said, I don't know what I want to be, but I don't want to be like one of them.
Well, women in polygamy are real professional sufferers. And they're good at it.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to show it on the outside.
No, they don't show it on the outside. They're really good at putting on the plastic smile and pretending all is well and crying themselves to sleep at night.
And you know what, though? Even as a child, I would be out there and I would see these women who had the fake smile, and I could see right through it. There, you can see the suffering in a person's eyes.
Yes.
I could feel that they were unhappy, and I did not want that.
I didn't want it either, but we didn't have any choice.
Ultimately, you found a choice, a place where you could make a choice.
Yes.
And I eventually made a choice as well.
Yes, and you and I are the exceptions to the rule.
Well, the thing is that a lot of times people don't know that they're slaves.
Right.
If you don't know you're a slave, then you don't ever have the courage to leave because you don't even know that you're a slave. And you and I started to recognize that, and that's when we decided to leave.
That's true.
We listen to that. Again, it's this about following your intuition. You listen to the inner voice that says, this is not right for you. And at what point do we listen to that inner voice that says, this is not right for you, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore?
But being enslaved by someone else controlling your life, it's all matters of degree. The principle that we're talking about here applies through complete slavery, as in some religious cults and polygamous cults,
right,
to the simple slavery of being caught up not being able to say no to your girlfriend's chocolate cake because she will hate you because she made it just for you.
Yeah, I was thinking corporate slavery, but that too. Like when everything inside of us is saying, don't eat that chocolate cake. And you say, sure, I'll have a slice.
But
because you don't want to upset your friend.
But you see, the principle remains the same. It doesn't matter how little
doesn't
or
matter.
how big the problem is.
Right.
It still comes down to, do you have the courage to do what's best for you?
Correct.
I realize
exactly.
It's a great big step, huge step,
right,
life-threatening step, where we came from. But it's the same step.
It is. It is exactly the same step.
It's the same step. And it gets worse and worse and worse when you won't take it.
And it gets harder and harder and harder because it starts to compound on top of itself.
So you eat the piece of chocolate cake. You eat the whole cake.
And sometimes, oh, what the heck? I ate one slice. I might as well have another.
And you go home and you're sick. You go home and you're sick and you hate yourself.
I can't believe I ate the whole thing.
But we see that all the time, don't we?
All the time.
And it's sad.
It's because we ignore that inner voice that is saying, hello, trying to get your attention here.
Anybody home?
And we're not listening.
It's really true.
Yeah.
It's really true. The problem, no matter how large or how small, always has the same answer. And that is respect yourself.
Yeah.
Respect yourself.
So the inside voice is always telling you to respect yourself. It's literally, it's like this inner guidance system that is stemmed from love. That love that's inside of you is that voice that tells you all of the things that are best for you. It's self-honor, self-love, self-respect. Get all of that. That's that internal voice. That is your voice of wisdom. It's your voice of direction. And that's what intuition is. You can call it anything under the sun. You can call it intuition, call it your higher self, call it your inner therapist, which is what I call it in the book. Call it the still small voice, God, whatever your label is for it. It's that love that's inside of you that is guiding you in what is best for you.
And if you don't love and respect yourself, who's going to?
You can try to get it from someone else. You'll end up going down all of these, it's like you're born and your inner guidance system has this path that it has in mind for you so that you can live your life on purpose. And if you're expecting to get that guidance from other people, you're going to take all these little detours. Oh, there's a pothole in the road, and you're going to take a detour and then take another detour. Oh, I got sidetracked. And you end up with all these detours and sidetracks and bumps and potholes in your path because you're not following what your inner guidance is telling you, and you're trying to live your life by all of these signposts that are taking you off track in other people's expectations and trying to fill yourself up in what other people tell you need to be.
So your need not to hurt their feelings or to be accepted by them is greater than your need for your health.
Right.
Is greater than your need for safety. Is greater than your need to follow your dreams and have the life you want. That price is pretty darn high.
Yeah, and it's actually just a perceived need. When what we really need to be doing is learning how to love ourselves. Once we fill ourselves up with that, neediness is not a beautiful thing. We misperceive love with need. I'm remembering back to my dating years when I thought I loved somebody and really what I was actually a codependent relationship, and I thought I needed that person to love me because I didn't have it in myself.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. You need love and acceptance because you're not giving yourself any. You think somebody else is going to give it to you.
Yeah, I thought I had to get everything. I thought I had to fill myself. Only way I could fill myself up and fill this void that was in my life was if I had other people fill it up for me. I didn't, every once in a while my intuition would give me a little nudge, and it would show up in this form. I remember one day I was getting a new car, and I went to the car lot, and I found this car that I wanted. And this voice inside of me said, "It's mine." So I told the car dealer, I said, "I'll be back tomorrow for the car." And the two guys were like, "Yeah, right." Like she thinks she's going to come back and get the car. The next day, I had it all worked out. I don't even remember how I did it. I went back, I traded in my other car, and I walked away with that car. Everything inside of me said, "That's my car." That's your intuition.
Right.
And when you're really tapped into it, it guides you in exactly the right direction. And there was no doubt at all I was going to get that car because something inside of me told me that was my car. Now, I'll give you another example. Before I started this last business, I was signing this day spa that I was creating with a business partner. My husband and I were there doing negotiations, and her husband were there, and we were all negotiating across the table. And I loved the idea of this business. The numbers looked phenomenal. The business concept looked phenomenal. And I loved what it was going to do for the community of women around me. Loved the idea of this business. As I'm signing papers, this partnership agreement, that little voice in me said, "Bad idea, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea." Like warning, 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 warning. And I'm still signing. My husband sitting next to me said, "Oh, we are going to get so screwed." And he signed the papers. That's intuition. And the numbers looked so good that it overrode the inner voice that was saying, "Don't do it." How many times do we do that? Where we let the numbers keep us from listening to ourselves, or what looks good out there keep us from listening to ourselves. Now, that was a real detour. That was a breakdown I had to have the breakthrough to get me where I am today. It would have been nice to get where I am today without the bankruptcy and and the foreclosure and all of the other stuff that stemmed from that particular business. Right. That would have been nice to have avoided that. It would have been nice to not have that suffering. That was the result of me not listening to my intuition. I could have avoided that. And how often do we not listen, even though everything is screaming at us, and we still don't listen?
I think we've all done something similar. I think we can all relate to that story.
Mm-hmm.
We've all done some really stupid thing. Because why? We didn't want to look bad the last minute by running out when we planned everything. Because we wondered what everybody else would think or feel. And we didn't care enough to respect us and say, this isn't good for me. Sorry, put on the brakes.
Or even to say, you know what, something about this just doesn't feel quite right.
Right.
This just doesn't feel quite right. I'm going to have to say no on this one.
Yeah.
And what keeps us from saying no on this one is fear. There's a fear of something. A fear of how we're going to be perceived, a fear of how we're going to be judged, a fear of missing out on that opportunity. In my particular case, I might miss out on that. What if she takes this opportunity and becomes a gazillionaire without me? Wow. What if somebody else steals my brilliant idea? Yeah, there's always, when we have that intuitive guidance and we choose not to listen to it, it's because there's some fear. That intuition is there to guide us and protect us from making poor choices.
Right.
And when we choose not to listen to it, we also choose the consequences that come with not listening to it.
And it is a choice.
It is a choice.
That's something we don't want to face. It is a choice. We got raked over the coals and burned.
By somebody else.
By somebody else, because we chose to hang in there with them.
Right.
And let them do it to us because we didn't listen. And that's a painful thing to recognize because that's like, ow! And then what we do is just look back and say, oh my goodness, I hope next time I recognize it when I see it coming. It won't be waving a flag.
I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully you're listening when it's telling you, so you can say, "Oh, okay. Oh, thanks for showing me that rock in the road. I'll just avoid it. I'll just go around that little rock."
Well, after a while, you start thinking the whole trick, the entire trick, is to walk through the cow pasture of life without stepping in it, and our intuition would guide us if our pride would get out of the way.
Yeah. Although we did talk a little about the whole pride thing, and not necessarily in this particular session, because it's one of the things I want to talk about in the last one, about the misperception of what pride looks like. Some of us were raised with some really, as you and I were raised with some real misperceptions about pride and humility and things like that. So, there's nothing wrong with being proud of yourself.
But I wasn't proud of myself. I was afraid that they would look at me badly when I made those mistakes. I was afraid of the criticism I would get from my peers that were actually going to take advantage of the fact that I was making the stupid mistake. But I cared more about what they thought.
Right, but was it a mistake based on their perspective? Or was it a mistake, or were you following your intuition?
I wasn't following the intuition, just like you. I made a similar mistake. I never had a bankruptcy, but I made a similar, very stupid mistake.
Mm-hmm. And the lesson learned was?
Don't even go there.
Because there's always a lesson to be learned from it. There always is. The lesson was to listen.
The lesson was, why did I even go there? What enticed me to think that that business deal would work? Why did I do that?
Well, because
I didn't get in bankruptcy, but I did lose. And I really examined, what was I thinking? Or what was I thinking?
Apparently not.
There you go. Because the intuition was there last minute. And I thought, everybody's like looking like, were you going to go through with this? And I seriously thought about not. And then I thought, well, it'll be all right, you know.
Yeah.
And I signed.
Well, and think about how many people, I've heard this story so many times of people who get married and they know, like, everything inside of them is saying, don't marry this guy, don't marry this guy, don't. Oh, but you know, mom and dad already paid for everything.
Exactly.
And then they end up in miserable marriages where if they had just listened to their intuition, they would have said, I love you, but no thanks.
I love you, but it's easier to love you from a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get caught up in the moment and not listening to themselves rather than just saying, this doesn't feel right.
I think we've all done that to greater and lesser degrees. It's unfortunate that some of us, like you and I, have to make a big mess of something before we realize we should have listened. But there again, you're back to ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if the mess was little or big. The answer is exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a raw business deal,
right,
or eating that chocolate cake. The answer is the same. You didn't listen to what was good for you.
Right. And well, the great thing is you get a retake.
Yes, you do. You get a retake on both of them. You can stop eating the chocolate cake and feeling sorry for yourself. Or you can say, hey, next time the odds are going to be in my favor down to the last minute, or any place along the way I don't play. Because when you embark upon something that's good for you, the odds are in your favor. That's why you're there.
Yeah, and what's really amazing is that when you're on track, when you're on path,
right,
everything falls into place almost like magic.
Yes, they are in your favor when you're on track. It's
pretty crazy when you're on track, when you're living your life on purpose.
Right. On your purpose,
on
not someone
purpose,
else's.
on my purpose. And I really think that every one of us came here, for me, this is my perspective, not everyone agrees with it, that I came here with a specific purpose. And that when I know what my purpose is, then I can live my life on purpose. And your internal guidance system will keep you on that purpose. And when you're in alignment with that, oh, it's amazing the people and the opportunities that just fall into your path. I would hope that I'm living my life in enough of an example of what's possible that those who need to hear it can hear it, right, and listen to their own truth.
They have to, because if it doesn't resonate with them, you can't reach them.
We can't make someone live their life on purpose. We can't make someone live their path. We can't make someone change their lives. The only thing we can do is be who we are and be an example of what it's like to live our life on purpose. Ultimately, the choice is theirs.
Very good author and a great teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you.